All right, this is a 2021 question one that made Mrs. Lamb and I cry. So we're going over it again because our students didn't do as well as they should have on this. It says the length of stay in a hospital after receiving a particular treatment is of interest to the patient. The hospital and insurance providers of particular interest are unusually short or lengthy stays. A random sample of 50 patients who received the treatment was selected, and the length of stay, the number of days, was recorded for each patient. The results are summarized in the following table and are shown in the dot plot. So we're going to ultimately put the length in L1 and the frequency in L2. I think I have mine in L4 and L5. All right. And so once again, we just go to the calculator, go to stat, edit, and enter that. And so I have it in 4 and 5. And it says determine the 5-number summary. Well, if we're drawing a box plot, and let's just say we have outliers, this will be my minimum. This is my max. That's Q1. This is the median. And this is Q3. So the minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the max are our 5-number summary. So I can do one of two things at this point. I can go second stat plot and graph it. So I'll go ahead and have it. And my data is make sure that I have the one showing outliers, L4, L5, and I can press zoom 9, and I can use the trace feature. And there we go, and it gives me my values. Alternatively, and please don't forget about this, we can go to stat, calc, one variable statistics. My X list is L4. My Y list will happen to be an L5. And if I scroll down, we see that we have a minimum of 5, a Q1 of 6, a median of 7, a Q3 of 8, and a max of 21. Any way that you did that, whether you took it off of the box plot itself or you got it from stat calc, there you go. That's it. And you need to have the labels. All right, you need to have the labels. That particular year, they did not count off for not having days, but you need to do that. All right, just make sure. So consider 2 rules for identifying outliers, method A and method B. Let method A represent the IQR rule, and let method B represent the 2 standard deviations rule. Using method A, determine any data points that are potential outliers in the distribution of the links. Justify your answer. Again, you have to show all your work. Well, IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So in this case, Q3 is 8, Q1 is 6, 8 minus 6 is 2. So IQR X less than Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. Well, Q1 we said was 6. 6 minus 1.5 times 2. So if X is less than 3 days, we have an outlier. Turns out our minimum is 5. That's greater than 3. No outliers on the low side. You must make the comparison and you must make the statement. All right. 5 is greater than 3. No outliers on the low side. Something along those lines. You have to have that. If you don't have it, you lose points. On the high side, Q3. We said Q3 is 8 plus 1.5 times 2. And so we need an X greater than 11. Now, if we have an 11, 11 is not an outlier. But here, we know we have 2 outliers on the high side. Why? Because when we look back at our table, we see that we have a 12 and we have a 21. So we know we have 2 outliers on the high side because they are greater than 11. Once again, you have to make the comparison. So there's my comparison word. The next thing, part 2. The mean of stay for the sample is 7.42 and the standard deviation is 2.37. Use method B. Well, what did method B say? Method B is, they're saying, is use the 2 standard deviation rule. So we need to be plus or minus 2 standard deviations. So the mean plus or minus 2 standard deviations. So 7.42 plus or minus 2 times 2.37. Well, if I subtract, I get 2.68. We have no outliers on the low side. Why? 5 is greater than 2.68. And then on the high side, we have 21 days is an outlier on the high side, and that's the only one we have because it's greater, because 21 is greater than 12. Once again, show the comparison. So the next question, which is probably the hard part, is explain why method A may identify more data points as the potential outliers. Now, method A used median or used IQR, and that was A. And B uses, I should say, this uses standard deviation and this used IQR. And we notice method B only had 1 outlier and method A had 2. Why? Well, the median is less affected by strongly skewed data than the mean. So in method B, the mean is pulled towards higher values. So the mean is pulled towards the higher, and because it's pulled to the higher, that 12 that we had earlier is not an outlier. The 12 that we had earlier was not an outlier. So basically, it's because the mean was impacted and got pulled to the higher values and the median was not. The mean will detect fewer outliers than the median if the data is skewed.